Let me ask you a question. Did you know that there's a simple technique that allows you to learn 5 times faster than the average person without any extra effort? And the best part? You can do this while doing something you probably do every day, like washing the dishes, commuting, or even working out at the gym. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, I'm here to tell you that this technique exists, and today I'm going to show you how you can tap into it to improve your English without sacrificing more of your precious time. Welcome to Easy English Practice, today's episode of Learn While You Live. I'm your host, and in the few minutes, we're going to dive deep into how you can create a listening routine that works for you, even when you're doing other things. Imagine learning English while you're getting ready in the morning, or cooking dinner, or walking your dog. That's what I'm going to teach you today. Now, let's start with the science behind why passive listening works, and why it's such an incredible tool for language learning. You might be wondering, can I really learn something new while I'm doing other things? Doesn't it just go in one ear and out the other? The truth is, passive listening doesn't mean you're not paying attention. It just means you don't need to be fully focused to absorb new information. Let's take a moment to understand how our brains work. Our brains are constantly processing everything around us, even when we're not aware of it. Imagine walking into a room and hearing a song you love playing in the background. After a few minutes, you might start singing along, even though you didn't consciously learn the lyrics. That's passive learning. Your brain is absorbing the sounds, the patterns, the rhythm, and over time, it makes sense of them. Research has shown that passive listening can boost language retention significantly. So why does this matter for language learners? Because when you listen to English content regularly, even if you're not paying 100% attention, you're reinforcing vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation without even realizing it. Think about this. When you're listening to English content while driving, cooking, or cleaning, you're giving your brain a mini workout. You're exposing yourself to new vocabulary, sentence structures, and different accents, all without having to sit down and study. And this is why listening is so important. It's easy, it's natural, and most importantly, it's consistent. All right, now that you know the science behind passive listening, let's get practical. How can you actually build a listening routine that fits into your daily life? Let's break it down step by step. Step 1, find content that you actually enjoy. The first step is choosing content that resonates with you. I always say, if you don't enjoy it, you won't stick with it. If you hate the material you're listening to, it's going to feel like a chore. But if it's something you're excited about, whether it's a true crime podcast, an audiobook, or a TV show, you'll be more motivated to keep going. Let me give you an example from my own experience. When I first started listening to Spanish podcasts, I struggled. I wasn't really into the material. But then I found a podcast about technology, something I was genuinely passionate about, and suddenly learning Spanish while listening became the best part of my day. Step 2, find the right time to listen. Timing is key. You don't need to block off extra hours for this. Instead, look at your everyday routines. When are you free but not fully mentally engaged? Maybe when you're getting dressed, or walking, or preparing dinner. These are golden moments. Here's a quick exercise. Pause the podcast right now. Think about your day. What's one task you could pair with listening to English content? Maybe during your morning coffee or while folding laundry. Got your moment? Great. Let's keep going. Step 3, set a realistic goal. Don't aim for an hour a day right away. Start small. 10 to 15 minutes a day is enough to create a habit. And once you build consistency, you can increase your time naturally. Remember, it's better to listen for 10 minutes a day every day than 1 hour once a week. Now, let's talk about some common mistakes people make when trying to create a listening routine. The first mistake? Choosing content that's too difficult. If you're constantly listening to material that's beyond your level, you're going to feel frustrated, and eventually you might quit. So start with what feels comfortable. If you're a beginner, choose slow-paced English podcasts or children's audiobooks. As you improve, you can gradually level up. Second mistake, using only one kind of content. Don't stick to only language learning podcasts. Try mixing in real conversations, interviews, news clips, even comedy shows. Different formats will expose you to different vocabulary and sentence structures. Third, trying to understand every single word. This is a big one. When you're listening passively, you're not supposed to understand everything, and that's okay. Let your brain get used to the sound of English. Trust the process. You'll be amazed how much you retain over time. Now, how do we make passive listening a habit? Let's go deeper than just do it every day. To build a lasting habit, you need 3 things: a trigger, a routine, and a reward. Let's break that down. Trigger. This is the thing that reminds you to start the habit. It could be something like brushing your teeth in the morning, putting on your shoes before a walk, or getting into your car. Pick a moment that already happens, something reliable. Routine. This is where the listening happens. It could be 5 minutes or 15. The key is consistency. Even if it's short, if you do it every single time after the trigger, it starts becoming automatic. Reward. This is what makes your brain say, I like this, let's do it again. The reward could be how accomplished you feel, the new word you understood, or even just checking off a box in your notebook. You can make this really fun. Use an app to track your streak, create a visual calendar, and put a sticker on each day you listen. Even tiny wins help create motivation. Another great way to reinforce the habit: tell someone about it. When you share your goals with a friend or community, you're more likely to follow through. You could even start a mini challenge with someone. Let's both listen to English every day for the next 10 days. Accountability adds energy. You'll both celebrate your progress, and it becomes more than just a habit. It becomes a lifestyle. Also, don't be afraid to change things up. If your routine feels boring, try a new podcast. Switch to a different accent. Add some music-based learning. Keep it fresh, keep it fun, and most of all, keep it easy. The best habits are the ones that slide into your life without resistance. If you can make English listening feel as natural as brushing your teeth, you've won. Let's talk about something really important: how this routine adapts to your lifestyle. Because here's the truth: one size doesn't fit all. You're not me, I'm not you, and we all have different rhythms, responsibilities, and energy levels. That's why building your listening habit means looking honestly at how you live, and then finding those hidden pockets of time that you can use without stress. If you're a student, you probably already have some kind of structure to your day: classes, homework, maybe part-time work. But in between, gold. Listen while you're walking to school, waiting for the bus, reviewing notes, or even while organizing your room. Even 5-minute stretches can add up fast when done consistently. Now, if you work full-time, whether at home or in an office, you know how precious time is. But again, there's space. Morning routines, lunch breaks, or the moment you shut your laptop at the end of the day, these can become anchors for your listening. Think about pairing your favorite audio with the start or end of your workday. It's not just educational, it becomes relaxing. And if you're a parent, I see you. Your schedule might feel completely unpredictable, but moments exist. Nap times, school drop-offs, late-night cleaning sessions, folding laundry. All of these can become moments where you bring English into your home without making things harder. Maybe you're someone who loves fitness. Great. Listening while exercising is a fantastic habit because it doubles your productivity. Whether you're lifting weights, jogging, or doing yoga, the rhythm of movement helps your brain absorb what it hears more deeply. Try syncing your workout with a specific type of audio, like upbeat English podcasts during cardio, or slow, clear speech during stretching. The key takeaway here is this: it's not about finding extra time, it's about using time differently. You already have a life. This method fits inside it, not on top of it. Now let's talk about variety. When it comes to building a powerful listening habit, the type of audio you choose really matters. Not just in difficulty, but in how it makes you feel. You want audio that energizes you, that speaks to your interests, and that keeps you coming back for more. There are so many options out there. You can listen to podcasts that teach English directly, or podcasts that talk about topics in English, like stories, culture, technology, or daily life. The first kind helps you with structure. The second gives you real-life context and teaches you how native speakers actually talk. Then you have audiobooks. These are great if you enjoy stories and want to improve your listening stamina. Start with short stories or books written in simplified English and move up over time. The advantage? You get immersed in vocabulary, grammar, and emotion, all while relaxing or walking around. Another great option is dialogue-based audio, like casual conversations, interviews, or scenario-style episodes where people act out everyday situations. This kind of content helps you learn tone, rhythm, and the musicality of language. And don't forget real-life English. News in slow English, audio blogs, or daily expressions, even if they're short, can give you a daily dose of how the language flows in natural environments. You'll start to pick up common phrases, sentence structures, and cultural references. Ultimately, the content you choose should reflect you. If you like humor, choose something funny. If you're into self-development, find something inspirational. If you're a beginner, keep it simple and clear. If you're more advanced, challenge yourself with complex discussions. Remember, the more you like what you hear, the more likely you are to stick with it. So experiment. Try different accents, speeds, formats. Make your audio world a place you want to be. Okay, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with something small but powerful, a mini challenge that you can start today. Think of one task, just one, that you do every single day without fail. It could be brushing your teeth, making coffee, walking the dog, or preparing dinner. Got it? Now commit to adding 10 minutes of English listening to that specific task for the next 7 days. Just 10 minutes, not more. It doesn't have to be a big show. Pick something easy, something enjoyable. The idea is to start small, stay consistent, and feel the difference. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need one action. All right, challenge accepted? Good. All right. We've made it to the end of this episode. I hope you're walking away not just with inspiration, but with real steps you can take today to make English part of your daily life. Let's quickly recap. Passive listening is a powerful way to learn, and it fits right into your normal routine. The secret is consistency. Even 10 minutes a day can create real progress over time. Make it fun, make it yours, and keep showing up. That's how you build fluency. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to Easy English Practice. This channel is all about helping you learn English in a smart, relaxed, and effective way. And if you want to improve your speaking, not just your listening, I've got something special for you. Check out this shadowing practice video I made. It's an easy and powerful way to train your pronunciation, rhythm, and confidence by speaking along with real English. You'll find it linked right here on the screen and down below in the description. Try the shadowing practice, and most importantly, keep listening, keep learning, and keep going. I'll see you in the next one. Hi everyone! Welcome back to Easy English Practice. I'm so happy to see you here. Today's video is a little different. In today's story, we'll put ourselves in the shoes of a girl who had a rather strange trip. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hi! Let me tell you about a trip I took not too long ago. It was meant to be a calm weekend with 4 friends. Just the 5 of us, out in the countryside, far from the city, far from noise, just peace and quiet. But things didn't go exactly as planned. Looking back now, there were a few moments that didn't feel quite right. My 4 friends had left early in the morning. They were excited to get there before sunset, start the fire, maybe open a bottle of wine. I couldn't leave with them because of work. So the idea was simple. I'd catch up with them later that evening. The place we were staying at was a cabin in the middle of the woods, isolated, no neighbors, no signal most of the time. Just a house surrounded by trees, hidden away from everything. They sent me a couple of messages once they arrived. One said, "We're here. It's so quiet, it's kinda creepy. Bring snacks." The other was a blurry picture of the chimney with smoke coming out. I remember smiling. I thought, finally, a break from the city, just what I need. As soon as I finished work, I threw a few things into a backpack, some clothes, my flashlight, a book, snacks, and my charger. Then I grabbed my keys and left. It was around 5:30 p.m. The first part of the drive was smooth. Wide highway, barely any traffic. The sun was setting, painting everything in gold. I had my music on, an old playlist that brought back random memories. I felt good, excited even. About an hour in, I stopped for gas. The guy at the station gave me a nod as I walked in. I grabbed a coffee, stretched a bit, and got back on the road. The highway eventually turned into smaller roads. The kind with no lights, no signs, just trees on both sides, and the occasional mailbox from a house you couldn't see. Around 8 p.m., I started feeling hungry. I hadn't eaten anything since lunch, and I still had more than an hour left. That's when I saw a little roadside diner. It looked old. Flickering sign, 2 trucks parked out front, 1 light inside, but it was open, so I pulled in. Inside, there were maybe 3 people, no music, just the hum of the fridge and the clink of a spoon stirring coffee. I ordered a sandwich and some fries. A woman behind the counter gave me a polite smile, then went back to reading her newspaper. I checked my phone. No signal. Again. I ate quickly, paid in cash, and stepped back outside. The air had gotten colder. Still, everything felt normal. At least it did at that point. I walked back to my car, got in, turned the key, and that's when everything started to change. The engine didn't start. I turned the key again. Nothing but a strange clicking sound. I froze for a second. Tried again. Still nothing. I looked at the dashboard. No warning lights. No signs of life at all. Just silence. I took a deep breath and looked around. The parking lot was empty now. The 2 trucks were gone. Even the diner's neon sign had gone out. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. I opened the door and stepped out, popped the hood, pretending I knew what I was doing, but of course I didn't. I just stared at the engine for a moment, hoping it would magically fix itself. It didn't. I checked my phone. Still no signal, not even a single bar. I sat back in the car, frustrated. I wasn't panicking yet, but I was starting to feel uneasy. There weren't many cars passing by that late, and I knew that the longer I waited, the harder it'd be to find help. Then, maybe 10 or 15 minutes later, headlights appeared in the distance. A truck slowed down as it got closer to me. It was an old pickup, green, with a roof rack and a couple of tools rattling in the back. It stopped beside me, the window rolled down. Inside was a man in his 50s, wearing a faded cap and a heavy jacket. He leaned slightly toward the window and asked, "Car trouble?" I nodded. "Yeah, it just won't start." He looked at my car for a second and said, "Well, not much you can do out here. I can give you a ride into town if you want, or where you headed?" I hesitated. For a moment, I thought about saying no, but what were my options, really? "I'm going to a cabin," I said. "Tres Pinos. It's a few miles past the forest road." He nodded slowly. "I know that road. You're still about an hour away, maybe more in the dark, but I can take you there if you're not in a rush." Something about the way he said, "if you're not in a rush," felt odd, but I thanked him, locked my car, and climbed into the passenger seat. We drove in silence for a while. The road was narrow, full of curves. The only sounds were the tires on the gravel and the occasional rattle of tools in the back. After a few minutes, he spoke. "You know," he said, "not many people go out that way anymore." I looked at him. "What do you mean?" He shrugged. "Just people talk. Say that area's gotten strange over the years. Animals acting weird, odd things in the woods, that sort of stuff." I tried to smile. "Sounds like something out of a movie." He chuckled softly. "Yeah, but movies usually come from somewhere, don't they?" He didn't say anything after that, just kept driving. Eyes focused on the dark road ahead. I glanced out the window. No lights, no houses, just endless trees and shadows moving with the wind. I started to wonder if I should have waited by my car after all, but it was too late to go back now. We had been driving for maybe 20-30 minutes. The road had gotten even narrower. The trees were closer now, leaning over the path like they were watching us. It felt like we were deep in the middle of nowhere, and then it happened. We both heard it, a loud bump, followed by a strange crunching sound beneath the tires. The car jolted slightly. He slowed down and pulled over to the side of the road. "What was that?" I asked. "Probably just a branch or a rock," he said, already unbuckling his seatbelt. "I'll take a look." He stepped out, closed the door gently behind him, and walked around the front of the car. I stayed in my seat, waiting. At first, I heard his footsteps crunching the gravel, then nothing. I checked the side mirror, couldn't see him. I waited. 1 minute, 2, still nothing. I tapped on the window. "Hello?" No answer. I looked at my phone. Still no signal. After another minute, I grabbed my flashlight from my backpack, opened the door, and stepped outside. The cold air hit me immediately. There was no wind, just the sound of silence, thick, heavy silence. I turned on the flashlight. The beam cut through the dark, but it only reached so far. I called out, "Hello? Everything okay?" No response. I circled around the car slowly. Every step on the gravel felt too loud. The woods around us looked like they could swallow anything, or anyone. And then I saw something. On the side of the car, near the back wheel, there were scratch marks. Long, thin, fresh. I crouched down, ran my fingers over them. They were too high up for a rock and too precise for tree branches. I stood there, trying to make sense of it. Then, just beyond the reach of my flashlight, something moved. I froze. It was quick, like a shadow pulling itself back into the trees. Too big to be a squirrel, too fast to be a person. I took a step back, and then a voice behind me. "What are you doing out here?" I jumped and turned around. It was him, the driver, standing there calmly, holding something in his hand, looked like a stick or a piece of wood. "You scared me," I said. "You were gone a while." He looked at the side of the car. "Yeah." There was a log stuck under the tire. Didn't want it messing up the road for anyone else. I hesitated. "What about those scratches?" He looked down. "Oh, those? They've been there for months. Got 'em last winter driving through bear country." I nodded slowly. Didn't really believe him, but also didn't feel like arguing. We got back in the car. He started the engine again, and we continued down the road. I didn't ask any more questions, But the rest of the ride, I couldn't stop thinking about that shape I saw in the woods and how for a few minutes he had completely disappeared into the dark. We drove in silence. The kind of silence that doesn't feel peaceful, just stretched. Neither of us spoke. Not about the scratches, not about the sound, not about the shadow in the woods. I just stared out the window, watching trees blur past in the headlights, trying to guess how much longer we had left. Eventually, the trees began to thin out. The road straightened. I saw the outline of hills in the distance, and then, finally, a mailbox. Then another, signs of people, and after a few more minutes, he slowed the car and pointed to a narrow dirt path branching off the main road. "That's your turn," he said. "Cabin should be at the end of that." I looked out. It was barely a road, just two faded tire tracks between tall grass, but I recognized it from the pictures my friends had sent me. "This is it," I said. "Thanks." I opened the door. The air felt colder now, and the wind was starting to pick up. Before I stepped out completely, he said, "You sure you'll be all right out here?" I nodded. "My friends should already be there." He paused, then added, "Just be careful. Not everything out here likes to be seen." I didn't answer. I just gave him a quick smile, closed the door, and watched as he drove off. His headlights slowly disappearing down the road until I was alone. Just me, my backpack, and a quiet path leading into the dark. I turned on my flashlight again, took a breath, and started walking. The dirt road was uneven. My boots sank a little with each step. Branches scratched against my jacket, and every sound, the wind, the crunch of leaves, my own breathing, felt louder than it should. After what felt like forever, I saw a light, a warm glow between the trees. I picked up the pace, then I saw it, the cabin, small, wooden, familiar. There were two backpacks on the porch, and the faint sound of music coming from inside. I smiled, finally. I walked up, knocked on the door, and a second later, it opened. "Hey," my friend said, pulling me into a hug. "You made it!" I stepped inside, dropped my bag. The warmth of the room hit me instantly. The smell of food, the sound of laughter, the light. It was everything I needed. And yet, as I sat down and started to tell them about the trip, I left a few things out. The scratches, the shadow, the driver's last words. I just said the car broke down and a kind stranger gave me a lift. That was enough. Because honestly, I'm not sure I want to think too hard about the rest. It was a strange night, and maybe it's easier to believe the story he told me about the log and the bears and the harmless bumps in the road, because the alternative feels a little too real. Wow, that was a little creepy, right? But hey, nothing too crazy. I hope you were able to practice your pronunciation and listening along the way. If you enjoy these kinds of stories to practice your English, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to Easy English Practice for more stories just like this. See you next time. Bye.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the podcast where we help you improve your English. I'm Daniel, your host, and joining me today is my amazing co-host, Olivia.
Hi, Daniel. Hello to all our listeners. We're so glad you're here. If you've ever struggled with thinking in English, you're going to love this episode.
That's right. Have you ever caught yourself mentally translating every single word before speaking? It really slows you down, doesn't it?
Absolutely. A lot of English learners deal with that. They think in their native language first and try to turn that into English, but by the time they're ready to speak, the moment is already gone.
But don't worry. Today, we're going to show you how to train your brain to think directly in English, just like native speakers do.
And trust us, once you make that shift, everything becomes easier. Speaking, listening, even writing.
So, if you've been wondering how to stop translating and start thinking naturally in English, stick around. We've got some powerful techniques to share.
Let's dive in.
So, Olivia, let's begin with a big question. Why is it so essential for learners to start thinking in English?
Great question, Daniel. The truth is, if you always rely on your native language first, you'll never reach true fluency.
Exactly. It slows you down. Your brain has to do two jobs: form the sentence in your language and then translate it to English.
And often the translation doesn't even work. People end up saying things that sound odd or unnatural in English.
That's why learning to think in English is a game changer. It helps you build sentences like a native speaker, no translation needed.
And it boosts your confidence too. Words come to you faster when you're not trying to convert them in your head.
No more long pauses while your brain plays catch up. You start sounding more fluent and natural.
Another big benefit, better listening skills. When you think in English, your brain processes conversations more quickly.
Definitely. And not just when you're talking, watching movies or listening to songs becomes much easier because you recognize words instantly.
And let's not forget pronunciation. When you think in English, you hear the correct sounds in your mind. That improves the way you speak.
So to sum it up, thinking in English helps you speak faster, boosts your confidence, sharpens your listening, and improves your pronunciation.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, I get it, it's important. But how do I actually train my brain to do this?
Don't worry, we'll walk you through it step by step. But first, let's talk about some common mistakes that hold learners back.
Yes, many people make these mistakes without even realizing it, and they slow down your progress a lot.
Mistake number one, the biggest one, is relying too much on translation.
So true. If you always translate before speaking, your brain never gets used to thinking directly in English.
It's like learning to ride a bike but never taking off the training wheels. You've got to trust your brain to build sentences on its own.
Another mistake? Overthinking grammar. Grammar is important, yes, but native speakers don't think about grammar rules while talking. They just talk.
Many learners try to build the perfect sentence in their head before they speak, and it takes forever. And believe it or not, even native speakers make grammar mistakes sometimes.
That's right. Mistake number 3, being afraid to make errors. Some learners are so worried about saying something wrong, they avoid speaking altogether.
But making mistakes is how you grow. The more you practice, the better you get.
Exactly. Don't chase perfection, chase progress.
And finally, mistake number 4, not exposing yourself to enough English.
If most of your day is in your native language, your brain will naturally keep thinking in it.
That's why immersion is key. Listen to music, watch videos, and read as much as you can in English.
Let's quickly review the most common mistakes. Depending too much on translation, obsessing over grammar, fear of making mistakes, not surrounding yourself with English.
If you're doing any of these, don't worry. The good news is, we're about to show you how to fix them.
That's right. Let's go over some practical strategies you can start using right now to train your brain.
Step 1, label the things around you in English.
I love this one. It's super easy to start. Just look around and name what you see. Bed, window, lamp, phone. That connects your daily life directly with English.
Then take it further by describing actions. Instead of just thinking cup, say, I'm drinking coffee from my cup. Step 2, talk to yourself in English. When you're cooking, getting dressed, or walking somewhere, narrate what you're doing. I'm putting on my shoes. It's sunny outside.
It might feel silly at first, but it's one of the best ways to become more fluent. And the best part? No pressure. It's just you practicing with yourself.
Step 3, use an English dictionary. For example, instead of translating excited, find its definition in English. Feeling very happy and eager.
This changes everything. Stop translating into your native language. Look up meanings in English. That way your brain learns the meaning directly, not through translation.
Step 4, keep your thoughts simple. Start with basic ideas like, I need to buy vegetables.
Yes. Don't try to form complicated sentences right away. With time, your sentences will naturally grow longer and more complex.
Step 5, create an inner voice in English. For example, what should I do now? Maybe I'll eat something.
Instead of thinking in your language, try thinking in English. Have a conversation with yourself in your head. You can even ask yourself things like, how am I feeling today? The more you hear the language, the more natural it becomes. Watch shows, listen to podcasts, read articles or books.
Step 6, surround yourself with English. Let's review the 6 steps. 1. Name things around you in English. 2. Talk to yourself in English. 3. Use an English dictionary. 4. Think in simple sentences. 5. Develop an English inner voice. 6. Immerse yourself in English every day. Now let's take it up a notch. How can we turn thinking in English into a daily habit? First tip, start and end your day with English thoughts.
Because knowing the method isn't enough, you have to actually practice it regularly. When you wake up, plan your day in English. It's Tuesday. I've got a meeting this afternoon.
At night, reflect in English. What did I do today? Did I enjoy it?
Second, create a no translation rule for at least 30 minutes a day. It might feel tricky at first, but it gets easier with practice.
Challenge yourself to only think in English during that time. Third tip, speak out loud to yourself for a few minutes each day.
Say things like, I'm making tea, it smells amazing, I'll read while I drink it.
Fourth, use English during simple activities like cooking or walking.
Instead of letting your mind wander, think, the air feels nice, I hear birds singing.
Fifth, keep a daily journal in English.
Write about your day, your feelings, or your goals. Don't worry about grammar, just get your ideas out. And now let's talk about staying motivated, because challenges will come.
First challenge, your brain will naturally want to think in your language. And using an English dictionary really helps keep your brain in English mode.
Second challenge, getting stuck when you don't know a word.
Instead of giving up, explain it in simple English. If you forget refrigerator, say cold box where I keep food.
Third challenge, feeling like you're not making progress.
It's normal. Sometimes progress is slow and not immediately visible. You'll see improvement in a few weeks, just stay patient.
Best solution, track it, write in a journal, record your voice, or talk in front of a mirror. Remember, thinking in English is a skill, and like any skill, it takes time.
Don't be afraid of making mistakes, just keep practicing.
And soon enough, thinking in English will become second nature.
Wow, Olivia, we covered so many useful strategies today. Thinking in English is a journey, but with the right mindset and daily practice, anyone can do it.
That's right. Start small, stay consistent, and trust the process. And remember, it's not about thinking fast, it's about thinking directly in English.
You don't need to be perfect, you just need to keep going. Every little effort adds up. We believe in you. Keep practicing, and soon English will feel like second nature.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow the podcast and leave us a review. It really helps us reach more learners like you. Thanks so much for listening today.
And if you want even more tips and practice, subscribe to Easy English Practice. Keep thinking in English, keep growing, and we'll see you next time. Welcome back to the Easy English Practice podcast, your go-to show for real-world English. I'm Daniel, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Olivia.
Hello, Daniel, and hello, everybody. I'm really excited to be here with you today. It's always a pleasure to join these conversations.
So, Olivia, today we're diving into one of the biggest challenges English learners face, understanding native speakers. It's a common frustration. You've studied for years, you know the grammar, your vocabulary is solid, but then you try to follow a conversation between two native speakers, and it's like listening to a different language altogether.
Yeah, it's something we hear all the time. You might feel totally confident reading or writing in English, but as soon as someone speaks quickly, uses slang, or mumbles a bit, comprehension drops. So today, we're going to break that down. We'll talk about why it happens, give you real examples, and share techniques you can use to get better at understanding fast, messy, real-life English. This isn't just about theory, it's about how people actually speak every day.
So, let's start with one of the biggest issues, speed. Native speakers talk really fast, but what most learners don't realize is that it's not just about speed, it's also about how we connect words together in ways that can completely change how they sound. Words that are clear when you read them often sound totally different in conversation. For example, instead of saying, "What are you doing?" someone might say, "What you doing?" Or, "Did you eat yet?" might come out as, "Did you eat yet?" The words blur together, and they don't sound the way you expect. So it's not just fast, it's also really different from what you see in textbooks.
Absolutely. And one thing to understand is that this isn't something we do on purpose. It's not like we're trying to be difficult. It's just the natural way we speak. Our brains process the meaning automatically, so we don't need to articulate every single syllable. That's why it's so shocking for learners at first. You hear what sounds like one word, but it's actually three or four blended together. And if you're expecting formal textbook pronunciation, you'll be completely thrown off.
Yeah, and the problem is even worse when you're listening to a group conversation. It's not just one person speaking fast, it's three or four people jumping in, talking over each other, using inside jokes, cutting words short. It's overwhelming. But here's the good news. The more you expose yourself to it, the better your brain gets at decoding it. It's not about understanding every word, it's about training your ear to follow the rhythm.
Exactly. We'll talk more about how to train your ear later. But for now, just know this. Fast speech isn't your fault. You're not bad at English. It's just that natural English is very different from classroom English. So don't be discouraged if you struggle. Everyone does at first. All right, let's talk about rhythm and intonation. Two things that are absolutely essential to understanding spoken English. English is a stress-timed language, which means some syllables are stressed and others are reduced or even dropped entirely. That's why native speech sounds kind of musical or bouncy. We don't say every word with equal emphasis. Instead, we stress the key words and rush through the rest.
Totally. Let's take a sentence like, I'm going to have to do it. On paper, it looks simple, but when a native speaker says it quickly, it sounds completely different. We don't pronounce each word clearly and slowly. Instead, we reduce and connect the sounds. It ends up sounding more like, I'm gonna have to do it. See how some words change completely? I'm going to becomes I'm gonna, and have to turns into have to. That's the natural rhythm of spoken English. If you're listening for every perfect word, it might sound confusing or too fast. But if you focus on the stressed words, gonna, have to, do it, and let the smaller ones fade into the background, you'll start to catch the real meaning much more easily.
And intonation matters too, the way our pitch rises and falls. It can change the meaning completely. For example, the sentence "you're coming" can be a question or a statement depending on the intonation. If I say it with a rising tone, "You're coming?" I'm asking. But if I say it flat, "You're coming," I might just be confirming something. So rhythm and intonation aren't just background, they're part of the message.
It's so true. A lot of learners get stuck thinking they need to understand every word clearly, but in real speech, that's not realistic. Instead, train your ear to follow the stressed words and the pitch. Over time, you'll find that you can catch the meaning even if you don't hear every word.
Now let's get into slang and idioms, two things that confuse even advanced learners. Slang changes all the time, and it's full of cultural context. Idioms are often completely illogical, like if I say break a leg, I'm actually wishing you good luck. Or if I say I'm feeling under the weather, I mean I'm sick. Nothing about weather in that sentence makes it obvious. And then there's modern slang, things you see on YouTube, TikTok, or hear in songs, like this party is fire or I'm low-key obsessed. These phrases are everywhere, but they don't mean what they literally say. And if you're not constantly exposed to pop culture, you'll miss them. Even native speakers from different generations get confused by new slang sometimes.
It's like the language inside the language. Formal English is what you learn in school, but slang and idioms are what you hear in real life. And it's frustrating because you can't just look up every phrase word by word. You have to learn them as chunks, and most importantly, learn them in context.
Yeah, context is everything. Try to notice when and where people use these phrases. Are they joking? Are they being serious? Are they with friends or at work? The more examples you hear, the more naturally these expressions will stick. Another thing we should touch on is the difference between reading and listening. When you read, you have time. You can pause, reread, and think about the meaning. But in a conversation, you don't have that luxury. The words come fast, and by the time you realize you missed something, the speaker is already on the next sentence.
Exactly. And sometimes you know the words, you know the vocabulary, but you don't recognize them when they're spoken because they sound so different, like gonna, wanna, lemmy, dunno. These are real phrases we use all the time, but they don't look like textbook English. You can't learn them just by reading. You have to hear them.
It's like your brain has to learn to match the sound with the meaning. At first, there's a delay, but with practice, that gap gets smaller. One day you'll hear, "I'm gonna head out," and you won't even have to translate, and you'll just know what it means.
That's why listening practice is so important. Not just passive listening, but active listening, listening with a purpose. We'll talk about some techniques in a moment. So now that we've talked about the problem, let's talk about solutions. How do you actually get better at understanding native English? One of the most powerful methods is called shadowing. You listen to a sentence, pause, and repeat it exactly how it was said. Try to copy the rhythm, the intonation, even the pauses.
Shadowing is amazing because it trains your ear and your mouth at the same time. You're not just hearing the sounds, you're producing them, and that helps your brain connect sound to meaning much faster. Another tip, start with content that you enjoy. If you like movies, use movies. If you like music, use lyrics. Make it fun so you keep coming back to it.
And don't be afraid to slow things down. Use YouTube's slow playback or apps that let you repeat sections. Break it into pieces. Listen to a sentence, then try to say it yourself. Then listen again and see what you missed. And if you want to practice even more, check out our shadowing videos here on the channel. They're designed to help you improve both your listening and your speaking in a natural, step-by-step way. Make it a daily habit. 10 minutes a day is enough if you're consistent.
Also, record yourself. It sounds weird, but it really works. When you hear yourself speak, you start noticing where your pronunciation differs from native speakers. It's like giving yourself feedback. And remember, you're not aiming for perfection. You're aiming for confidence and clarity. So to wrap it all up, understanding native English is hard, yes, but it's not impossible. And it's not about intelligence or talent. It's about exposure and practice. The more you listen, the more patterns you recognize, and the easier it becomes.
Exactly. Don't be too hard on yourself if you struggle. Every learner goes through this, and even people who speak English every day can get caught off guard by fast conversations or unfamiliar slang. It happens, but if you stay consistent, keep practicing, and stay curious, your ears will start to adapt.
Thanks for listening to the Easy English Practice podcast. If you found this helpful, we'd love it if you subscribed or shared the podcast with a friend. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can join as a member or tap the thanks button right here on YouTube. It really helps us keep creating more useful content for you. Also, let us know what topics you'd like us to cover next. We're always listening.
Take care, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Hey there, English learners. Welcome back to Easy English Practice, the podcast where improving your English is not only easy, but actually fun. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Olivia. We're so happy you're here. Whether you're listening on your way to work, cleaning the house, or just relaxing, this episode is going to be a great one.
Today we're diving into a super useful topic, how to speak more confidently in English. Yeah, we know, sometimes your brain knows the words, but your mouth just freezes, right?
Or you say something, and then 5 minutes later you think, wait, was that right? Don't worry, we've all been there. Even native speakers make mistakes.
Here's a quick question to start with. When was the last time you felt proud of speaking English? Maybe you ordered food perfectly, or had a short chat with someone. Think about it.
Stick around because in just a few minutes we'll tell you something most learners never notice about confidence in English, but it's a total game changer.
All right, let's kick things off with something that might surprise you. Confidence doesn't come from knowing more English. It comes from using what you already know. Let me say that again, so it really sinks in. Confidence doesn't come from knowing more English. It comes from using what you already know. You see, most learners wait until they feel ready before they speak, but that moment, it never really comes. Confidence is built after you speak, not before.
Exactly. I remember meeting a woman from Brazil who had been studying English for 7 years, but she never spoke. Why? She was afraid of making mistakes. Then one day she had to help a tourist who got lost near her town. She used simple words like, you go left, then supermarket, big street. And guess what? It worked! The tourist understood her. She felt amazing. That one moment gave her the courage to start talking more often.
So here's a question for you. Have you ever avoided speaking English because you were afraid of sounding silly? Be honest, we all do it. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine you try, even with mistakes, and people still understand you. That's the power of confidence.
Now let's do a quick mindset shift together. Repeat this out loud after me. Mistakes are part of learning. I don't need to be perfect, I just need to try. Again, I don't need to be perfect, I just need to try. Feel that? That's your English confidence starting to grow.
Coming up next, we'll tell you the weird reason why native speakers don't care about your grammar mistakes as much as you think. You don't want to miss it.
All right, let's be real for a second. One of the biggest fears for English learners is making mistakes when talking with native speakers. Totally normal. We all want to sound perfect, right? But here's the thing. Most native speakers don't actually focus on your grammar or pronunciation as much as you think. They care about what you're saying.
Yeah, I remember this one time I was in Italy and my Italian is pretty much non-existent. I tried ordering a coffee with whatever little Italian I could remember. The barista just smiled and said, "You want big coffee or small?" It wasn't perfect English or Italian, but it worked. I got my coffee and it was a friendly interaction. That's what really matters.
Exactly. Fun fact, studies show that native speakers often don't even notice small grammar mistakes when listening to non-native speakers. What they actually pay attention to is your message and your enthusiasm, so your confidence can totally shine through even if your grammar isn't perfect.
Think about it for a second. Have you ever heard someone speak your native language with mistakes? Did you judge them or did you appreciate their effort? I bet it was the latter. That's how most native English speakers feel when you try to speak English.
Say this with me. People appreciate effort more than perfection. One more time, a little louder. People appreciate effort more than perfection.
All right, let's play a quick true or false game. I'll say a statement and you decide if it's true or false. Ready?
Here's the first one. If you make grammar mistakes, native speakers will think you're not smart. What do you think? True or false? False. Most people actually respect the effort you put in.
Next, it's better to speak imperfect English than to stay silent. True or false? True. Speaking helps you get better even with mistakes.
And one more for fun. Native speakers expect non-native speakers to be perfect. True or false? False again. We know learning a language is tough, so we don't expect perfection.
So, the big takeaway? Focus on communicating your ideas and being yourself. That's way more important than perfect grammar.
And here's a quick tip. Smile when you speak English. It actually makes your voice sound friendlier and helps you feel more confident. Try it now. I am confident and I love speaking English. See? That already sounds great.
Coming up next, a cool trick actors and public speakers use to sound confident, even when they're nervous. Don't miss it. All right, here's a secret that many actors, public speakers, and even great conversationalists use to sound confident: the power of pausing. Yeah, just pausing. You might think talking fast makes you sound fluent or smart, but actually, pausing shows control. It gives you time to think, and it helps your listeners absorb what you're saying.
Exactly. Think about your favorite speaker or actor. They don't just rush through their lines. They pause at the right moments. It adds drama, clarity, and confidence. Here's a simple trick to try right now. When you speak English, try to pause for a second or two after every important idea or sentence. It's okay to take your time.
For example, instead of saying, I think learning English is hard but rewarding all in one breath, try, I think learning English is hard but rewarding. Hear how that sounds more powerful?
Let's practice together. Repeat after me. I am improving every day. One more time. I am improving every day.
Pausing also helps with pronunciation and reduces fillers like or And bonus, it makes you sound calmer and more in control.
Here's another tip. If you forget what to say next, don't panic. Just pause, breathe, and continue. The pause makes it look like you're gathering your thoughts, not struggling.
I remember my first public speech. I was so nervous, I spoke super fast and stumbled over words. After watching some videos of great speakers, I started practicing pausing, and it changed everything. I felt calmer, and people understood me better.
So next time you practice speaking English, focus on your pauses. Try to slow down a little and give yourself space to think.
And before we move on, here's a quick fun fact. Research shows that pauses can actually make your message more memorable. So it's not just good for you, it's good for your listeners too.
So now that we've talked about confidence and pausing, let's dive into something every English learner wants: expanding your vocabulary. But instead of memorizing endless word lists, let's focus on learning words naturally through everyday conversations.
Exactly. When you're chatting with friends or listening to a TV show, pay attention to the words people actually use. These words stick better because they come with real meaning and emotion. For example, instead of just learning the word happy from a list, you might hear someone say, I'm feeling on top of the world today. That's a fun, natural way to say you're really happy. Cool, right?
Totally, and don't be afraid to try out new expressions in your own conversations. It's like adding new colors to your language palette. Here's a quick challenge. Next time you talk with someone, try to use one new word or phrase you learned recently. It doesn't have to be perfect, just give it a go.
Oh, and another tip, keep a little notebook or your phone notes handy. Whenever you hear a cool phrase or word, write it down with an example sentence. That way, you can review and practice it later.
Also, remember that context is king. If you learn the word amazing just by itself, it's okay. But if you learn it as part of a sentence like, that movie was absolutely amazing, it's easier to remember and use.
And don't stress about knowing every word perfectly. Even native speakers learn new words all the time. What matters is using what you know comfortably.
So here's a quick exercise for you. Think of a recent conversation you had in English or heard on TV or online. What's one interesting word or phrase you noticed? Pause the podcast and say it out loud now. Great. Keep doing that often. It really helps.
All right, time for a little fun fact before we move on. Did you know that people remember stories way better than lists? That's why learning new words in a story or conversation is super effective. So, we've talked about pausing and building vocabulary naturally. Now let's address something that can feel a little uncomfortable but is super important: making mistakes. It's a part of learning, and honestly, it's unavoidable.
Right, and here's the thing. Mistakes are not failures, they're clues. Every time you make one, you get a chance to understand how English really works, and that's gold.
Exactly. Imagine you're on a journey and mistakes are like signposts showing you where to improve. Instead of getting frustrated, think of them as helpful guides.
And here's a quick question for you. When was the last time you learned something new because of a mistake? Maybe you mixed up two words or misunderstood a phrase. That moment probably stuck with you more than just memorizing a rule, right?
That's the power of learning through experience. And a fun tip, try to keep a language journal where you jot down any interesting mistakes or confusing moments. Later, you can review them and notice your progress.
Plus, sharing your funny or confusing language moments with friends or classmates can make learning more enjoyable and less stressful.
And remember, most native speakers appreciate your effort much more than perfect grammar. They want to understand you, and they're usually impressed when you keep trying.
So instead of avoiding speaking because you're afraid of mistakes, Use them as stepping stones. Each one gets you closer to speaking confidently and naturally. All right, Daniel, let's make practicing English a little more fun. Sometimes the best way to learn is through games, right?
Absolutely. Whether you're alone or with friends, these mini games can help you improve your speaking and listening skills without it feeling like work.
Here's the first game. Describe and guess. One person describes an object, place, or person without saying the word, and the other tries to guess what it is. It's great for building vocabulary and thinking on your feet.
If you're practicing alone, try describing something out loud, then check if your description matches the actual word or item. For example, you might say, it's something you wear on your feet when it's cold, and then say, boots, easy and fun.
Game number 2, story chain. Start by saying one sentence, then add another sentence to build a story. If you're alone, try recording yourself telling a story, and then listen back to find ways to improve.
This game is perfect for practicing fluency and creativity. Plus, it helps you connect ideas naturally.
Another one I love is word association. Someone says a word and you respond with the first word that comes to mind. This quick thinking helps your brain make connections faster in English.
If you're solo, you can write down a word and quickly jot down 5 related words, or try it out loud to boost your speaking speed.
And lastly, a fun listening game. Watch a short video or listen to a song in English, then try to summarize what you heard in your own words. It's a fantastic way to improve comprehension.
Remember, the goal is to enjoy these games. The more you have fun, the more you'll want to keep practicing.
So, grab a friend or just get creative on your own and try these games this week. We promise they make learning feel less like studying and more like playing.
Coming up, we'll dive into some useful expressions to help you sound more natural in conversations. Stick around. All right, let's get into something that makes a huge difference when you speak English, using expressions that native speakers use every day. These aren't textbook phrases. They're what you hear in real conversations.
Totally. And sometimes the reason learners sound like learners is just because they're using very formal or stiff phrases. So let's loosen it up a bit, shall we?
Let's start with a classic. Instead of saying, I don't know, try, no idea, or I'm not sure to be honest. They feel more casual, more natural.
Another one, if someone thanks you, you can say you're welcome, but native speakers often say no problem, anytime, or even no worries. Try them out next time someone says thank you.
Here's one I love. If someone is telling you something surprising, instead of saying really, you can say you're kidding, or seriously, or even if it's shocking, shut up. Not in a rude way, of course, just playful surprise. It's all about tone.
And these expressions also help show emotion, which makes your conversations feel more real. Try saying, that's awesome, instead of just, that's good. And don't feel like you need to learn 20 phrases at once. Pick 2 or 3 and really use them in your conversations this week.
Quick tip, listen to real conversations in shows, podcasts, or videos and write down expressions that feel fresh or interesting. You'll start to notice patterns. All right, before we wrap up, here's a challenge. Next time you talk to someone in English, try replacing one basic phrase with something more natural. Just one change. That's how it starts.
Wow, time really flew by today. We've covered so much, from building confidence, using pauses, growing your vocabulary naturally, to playing games and sounding more like a native speaker. It's time to close things out with today's challenge of the day and a little reflection on everything we've talked about.
Yeah, and if there's one thing we hope you take away from this episode, it's this. Confidence doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from practicing with purpose and enjoying the process.
So now it's time for your challenge of the day. Ready? We want you to create a short story, just a few sentences, using 3 things from this episode. It could be a new expression, a mini game you tried, or a tip you found helpful. Be creative. And if you want an extra challenge, say it out loud and record yourself.
That's a great way to reinforce what you learned. And hey, if you feel brave, share your story with a friend or even leave it in the comments. And if you found this helpful, we'd love it if you followed the podcast, left a review, or shared it with someone who's also learning English. You never know who might need that little boost today.
Before we go, let us ask you something. Which part of today's episode surprised you the most? Was it a phrase you hadn't heard before? A mindset shift? A game you want to try? Take a second and reflect on that. And don't forget to subscribe to Easy English Practice so you don't miss the next episode. Want a hint about what's coming?
Next time, we're talking about how to understand fast English, even when native speakers talk a mile a minute. You won't want to miss it.
Thanks for spending this time with us. We're proud of the progress you're making. Keep showing up, keep speaking, and keep smiling.
You're doing great. Until next time, take care and speak confidently.